Hey there friends, and thanks for joining me again. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and today I want to talk to you about ways to frugalize, is that a word? Ways to cut costs on your television. You know, I looked up some statistics online and I found out the average American household has 3 TVs in their house, and they also watch an average of roughly 5 hours of TV a day. And so while for years it's been, the very traditional way that we mainly get our entertainment, after our dinner, sit down, unwind before bed and things like that, more and more people are turning to alternative and more modern ways of entertainment, things like their smartphones, their tablets, their laptops, and other computers and things like that. And so more and more this thing is more becoming a background noise for those other forms of entertainment. And also, with the rise in these types of things, more and more services have come available that are less expensive than, a paid subscription TV service. I also looked up some statistics on that, and the average household pays roughly or close to $123 a month for those paid subscription services, which is quite a bit. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that sort of thing can really add up. And with that, price does come about 189 channels. And so I would just like to share with you one of the ways that I have made this thing less expensive for us. So the first thing that we do, because we're not going to just go with no TV at all, of course, we do have kids and my husband, and we all enjoy, watching a little bit of TV a day. Probably not as much as the average, but I have this thing right here, an antenna. It's not the old school one with the rabbit ears or anything like that. Those don't tend to work anymore because those don't get digital signals. So there are lots of other varieties out there. I've tried several of them. This is actually my third antenna I've had. The other two just stopped working out of nowhere. However, this one's been working for a long time. I got this one. It said it had really good reviews on Amazon, and so we tried it out, and I've been really happy with it. It wasn't too expensive. It was made in the USA, and it actually really does get a fair amount of channels. It has a pretty streamlined design here, so when I stick it up here, there's actually white up above here, and so it kind of blends in. It doesn't stand out. And I never have to adjust it or anything else like that. It just basically stays there for the most part, and then most of the channels that we want to watch come in great on this thing. How many channels does a antenna like this get, you might ask? Well, I get 40 channels, almost exactly. And 30 of those are even in English, so it actually does get a fair amount of channels. We can pretty much watch anything that we would like to. I like, home and garden type shows and cooking shows and things like that. We certainly get a fair amount of those. Of course, cartoons and other things like that. Other kid-like programming for the children. And then my husband can watch football or American Ninja Warrior or whatever else he would like to watch. So yes, this does get us basically what we would like with many of the local channels. And once you pay for it, it goes and goes and goes until you're not happy with it or somehow it breaks or whatnot. So it's a pretty good investment, and it's much cheaper, not only the first month, but also a lot cheaper in the long run versus a paid subscription service. However, of course, this doesn't get us everything we want. We want movies once in a while and things like that. And so one of the ways that we've filled in for that is Chromecast. Chromecast, I chose this one over like an Amazon Fire Stick or some of the others, mainly because this connects to I don't have an HDMI port on my TV. I just have USB, and this one connects to USB, whereas the Fire Stick connects to HDMI, so that's why I made it an easy choice for us. So this makes it to where we can pull up anything on YouTube. We can play all the music videos we want, iHeartRadio, Pandora, even stuff beyond just regular TV. And so this makes it to where our TV can connect to the internet in ways that we would like it to help further the amount of TV that we get. And again, once we bought this, there's no monthly cost after that. So I liked this as well. So let's just go through the numbers really quick and see how much I really do save going through this way rather than a paid subscription service. So month one, and I did adjust this according to inflation. I looked up the numbers. So a paid TV subscription in 2013 was $104.50. And so the total cost for the first month that I put this on our TV versus a paid subscription service, ours with total cost was $80 for the two of them. And then the paid subscription service, of course, $104. So there was about a $25 savings there just on the first month. After the first year, however, of paying those bills and things, my first year was still $80 because I didn't have any, of course, continuing costs. Whereas the paid TV subscription, because you do have to pay that monthly cost, came to about $1,254. So there was a savings of over $1,100 just in the first year of not using a paid subscription service. After the second year, of course, the paid subscription service went up a little bit. In 2014, the average was about $113.75. And so at the end of the year, there was a savings, because it's still the $80 total cost for what we have here with our setup. So the savings was about $2,539 after paying those monthly bills that continue to go up. And then finally, on year 3, the total cost remained $80 for our setup that we have here, and yet with $123 a month, which is the average for 2015 here, there was a savings of over $4,000 in just 3 years of not having cable, satellite, dish, whatever. So as you can see, even though $123 a month doesn't sound like all that much to some people, it can really add up to a fair amount. So if this is something you're considering, maybe trying to find ways to cut costs yourself, of course there are these alternatives, an antenna like I've suggested, Chromecast, but there are other subscriptions that you can do that are cheaper than, those other types. Hulu, of course, is $8 a month. Netflix is $9 a month. I'm sure everybody's aware of these types of things. You can get many shows and different movies and things like that through the different subscriptions. I personally have never used any of them, so I would rather not try and rate them or give any kind of review. Of course, that wouldn't be fair. Amazon Prime Instant Video is about $100 a year. However, that works out to about $8.25 a month. So it's right in there with those other subscriptions. And then if there are certain channels that you're saying, okay, I can't possibly cut out my paid subscription TV, what about sports channels and other channels for the kids and things like that that they're used to? Well, there is another alternative. It's called Sling TV, and it costs about $20 a month, and with that you get ESPN, ESPN2, AMC, HGTV, Food Network, Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, many of the big channels that many people watch, and it just cuts out all of those other channels that maybe many people don't even use. So if there's only a few channels that you use, you may be able to get a paid subscription service for cheaper by going through one of those. No, I have not been paid by anyone for any of these suggestions. These are just honestly ways that I have looked up and found, and I've heard from friends and other family members and different people about ways to get their TV subscription for cheaper, and other people who are cutting the cord, as they say, on their cable subscription service to help save money. So if that's something that you're considering, I hope the information in this video was helpful to you. I'm Frugal Girl, and thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.